Hi, my name is Milan Tančevski. I am the Executive Manager of the Center for Social Innovation Blink 4221, and I would like to welcome all participants on today's event. I would like to thank His Excellency, the Ambassador Garcia, for his involvement in this program. It's our pleasure to continue the cooperation with the Embassy of Spain on such important topic as digital and media literacy. And I would also like to thank Mr. Marko Georgievski and the support of the National Agency for making this program possible. The project Digital Media Literacy for Youth was developed in close cooperation with our partners, Digital Communication Network, and the personal involvement of the Professor Nikos Panayotou, whose experience will be of great benefit for all involved in this project. Without much delays, we want to keep to the original timeframe for the program. I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Georgievski, the Executive Manager of the National Agency for European Education and Mobility. Mr. Georgievski, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I'm honored that today with you, Your Excellency, the representative from the both organization, and of course young people. First of all, to get one of the first projects in small-scale partnership within the new program 2020 to be some kind of experience from the both sides, from the national agency from one side and from the organization from the other side. But I think that when I see the project like this and I see the participants, probably this is how it will be settled, because we have a cooperation with North Macedonia and Greece, especially young leaders, young participants. And on our side, one of the topics probably that I can say maybe main topics in the world right now, or probably the main issue in the world right now. So probably you will cover one of the, I can say, one of the main issue in the world, especially disinformation or fake news or something like that. There is a lot of words in that way. So probably I think that Erasmus Plus program is created to give support to project like this, and probably after the successful implementation of this kind of project, probably we need to give more dissemination on, or to give the public opinion what projects we support as a national agency. So probably I want just to be short to say hello to everybody, to have a successful training. And I think that when the training is over, I think that you will have another skills to handle the situation, to handle the media and digital world in the future. So probably I'm here. The national agency is almost every time supportive for everybody. Also, I can say just in a few words that this year 2022 is a year of youth. So probably as a young participant or everybody that want to have some kind of event or something like that, you have European Youth Portal that you have almost 3,000 projects for youth. So probably you can see what happens across all Europe, and if you have something in common on something, there is an event like this, probably you need to verify that. That's I will short. That's from my side, and I'm looking forward to see the results after this training. So, guys, good luck with the project and organization. I'm here for any questions, any support on behalf of the national agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Georgievski. As you said, we have interesting topics in front of us. We are living in a digital age in which critical thinking regarding media contents is of utmost importance for understanding not just the world events, but also everyday surrounding. It affects how we're making decisions, building trust, and engage on social issues. So we will have the following weeks to discuss by engaging various experts and engaging young people as future leaders. And afterwards, the whole program will culminate with a visit of the TISM Summit Summer School in Thessaloniki, and engage in person with experts from around the world. Now, I would like to pass the floor to His Excellency, the Ambassador Garcia, the Ambassador of Spain in the Republic of North Macedonia.
Well, good afternoon to you all. Indeed, it's a pleasure. I would say also a responsibility, and I will explain later on why I'm speaking about the responsibility. Let me first of all thank you. First of all, Executive Director of Blink 4221, Mr. Milan Tanceski. Equally, I would like also to thank Mr. Marco Georgescu as Director of National Agency for European Educational Programs and Mobility. Let me also make a welcome remark to Professor Nikos Panagiotou, online professor compatriot, Mr. Roberto Gerardo Marcos. And well, good afternoon to you all. Thank for letting us, the Embassy of Spain here in Skopje, to participate and to contribute and support this initiative. Most interesting, and well, I was speaking about responsibility. It's okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, well, I was speaking about responsibility. Well, I would like to make a couple of comments. Responsibility, why? I have the feeling, according to the images I am seeing here around, that I think I am the oldest of all those that are participating in this initiative. And sorry, well, I know it's a training program, digital and media literacy for young leaders, but this has something to do with the matter we are dealing today, and you will be dealing and you will take advantage of all these exchanges. Since I think, well, most of those participating, well, if anyone is not among those that I am going to refer to, please don't bear with me. I mean, I've been looking into what is considered a digital native. It's a person who has grown up in the information age and can consume digital information and stimuli quickly and comfortably through devices and platforms such as computer, mobile phones, social media, often referring to Generation Z, between 10 and 25 years, and millennials between 26 and 41 years. Well, I am not a digital native. And that's why my responsibility, because I wouldn't like that the whole level of this seminar or training program is just lower because of my participation. Sorry, that's what responsibility and opening remark. Anyhow, what I can say, actually, dealing with digital and media literacy for young leaders, I think is indeed a topical issue. Couple of comments on this. I just participated in this PRESPA forum last week, and one of the panels was precisely related to the role to be played by youth. And there were a lot of comments referring precisely to the way young people from the region, they do get information. And it is clearly that, well, those taking information or consulting TV are really a minority. usual or the traditional papers is no longer a way to get information, and it's mainly through social media, all sorts. I mean, you may have all social media, internet, and so on and so forth. So in a way, I think, as I said, it's a topical issue, important one, and well, I'm not going to avoid or to shy away from the issue that in this is topical, because these days fake news narratives
και ένα μήνυμα, Γιώργο, εδώ από
are not
μια κυρία,
that common.
το όνομά της είναι Κωνσταντία,
I
και λέει αφού δεν είναι...
Someone is with the
Yes, yes, please continue, Your Excellency. Please.
Yeah, never mind. Sorry, I'm speaking too much. That's a clear signal. I'm speaking too much.
It was,
sorry.
It was Greek to you.
No, well, as I said, it's indeed topical. It was quite an important debate. There was quite an important debate in Prespa Forum. And as I said, it's indeed topical as well, because, well, we have been, for the last few years, we have been speaking, have been hearing, talking about fake news, narrative, counter narratives in the current international situation. We are all aware that the role that is being played by social media, by some even classical TV channels, so on. Well, you name it, is in these current circumstances of Ukraine after the invasion by Russia. Anyhow, I must add, just to conclude, that I'm happy to learn that there are participants coming both from North Macedonia and, as far as I could get, also from Greece. So that's an important issue. I mean, just reminds me of how all this Prespa Forum was organized, trying to take on board well, participants, stakeholders of the region, not only Western Balkans, but larger, and the role that can be played. So just to conclude, really, I must confess that I'm going to miss today's participation by Professor Gelado. I will have to immediately attend another video conference. I mean, this was not that common maybe 2-3 years ago, but since we have the lockdown with COVID, I mean, we all have become accustomed to have one video conference after another. I mean, I might say that I still sort of long for the old days. Whenever you have a meeting, you have to travel, you have the time, you take a plane, maybe a bit bothersome, but at the same time, you have time to reflect, so on and so forth. These days, you have a video conference after another, and sometimes you don't know where you are dealing with this or that. Anyhow, my next video conference, just to let you know, is concerning our EU presidency in the second semester of 2023. I mean, quite a different issue, but indeed with plenty to do, plenty of issues dealing with disinformation, accountability, well, so many things. As I said, I'm going to miss Mr. Gelado presentation, but anyhow, let me just to conclude, indeed wish you that you enjoy and you learn and out of all this training program, and finally to express as well the availability on the part of the Embassy of Spain in Skopje to cooperate for future programs or initiatives of the sort. So all the best, enjoy it, take advantage of it, and well, and let's make the best out of this training program. Thank you. And well, with these words, I am leaving you, and well, we will be meeting somewhere, and I hope I will be up next time and not be an ignorance on digital media and so on. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador.
Pleasure.
Thanks for the support that the embassy is giving to this project and the cooperation that we have so far on a little bit different topics, also connected with media literacy, but more into film education. that cooperation will hopefully continue also this year. So thanks again for your engagement.
Thank you. Bye. The best.
I would like to give the floor now to Professor Nikos Panayiotis, who is the Associate Professor of School of Journalism and Mass Media Communication at Aristoteles University of Thessaloniki, but also President of Digital Communication Network. We've been working with DCN and with Professor Panayiotis for quite some time, and we have established, I think, a fruitful partnership. From that partnership, we have developed this project, and I think that DCN will provide important contribution to the capacity buildings regarding media literacy and digital literacy of the young people in both countries, in North Macedonia and Greece. So, Professor Nikos, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Milan. I would like actually to thank for the very warm words of Mr. Marco Georgievski and also His Excellency, the Ambassador of Spain. And also, above all, I would like to thank Maria, Zoric, and Milan for the cooperation that we have that actually underlines our willingness to materialize what not only both countries have achieved in all these years working together, but also we have materialized many efforts in order to address it is actually disinformation. It is actually how to work in order to equip young people, professionals, students, or experts in being in that position that they will be able to make a very positive use of the information that you acquire. To that end, and as president of Digital Communication Network Global, which is a global organization with 7,000 members all across the world, we have cooperated in this initiative with Blink 42 because we wanted to address actually a major challenge, which is how to build up competencies in young, especially people, regarding media literacy. The topic is more than important because it has been and it is a priority of European Union. Secondly, it has been a priority from 2008, not only today, but even now, today, as it has been mentioned from Mr. Georgievski, it is a major priority for European Union and for the Europe as a whole in order to work on that field. This is why you have been selected in order to participate. You will have the chance to interact with many experts that they are among the top ones in their field. The aim is not actually to create another seminar. The aim is not actually to create just a meeting, despite that we all are tired from online meetings. This one, it is actually the first step that it will materialize when we will meet in Thessaloniki and hopefully in the next project in Skopje, in order actually to build upon the results of this project. Unless we will meet in Prespa for the next conference, which I'm sure that this will happen. So I would like, despite that I'm a professor and usually professor has too much theoretical ones, I would finalize my initial comments by saying that we don't want actually to have this training as a theoretical one, but we want you to have critical competencies. And in order to achieve that, we will invite you to work in specific projects that you will have the chance to present them at Thessaloniki International Media Summer Academy, where many experts from various organizations from all over the world, they will be present. and this is the first time you are the only ones that you know, in Thessaloniki International Media Summer Academy with us as part also of this program, it will be the president of Google in Europe. So do the best out of your work. This is the first time that I announce it publicly, and please keep it to yourself, because it is going to be only for us as a reward for your hard work. I would like to thank, special thanks to everyone that worked for that project, to Elias, to Milan, to Zorica, to Maria, and to Vasilis. We have worked hard, and we are more than happy that we have the support of both the National Agency of North Macedonia in this initiative that we have implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Yes, I also hope that this project will be used more as a non-formal platform for sharing ideas between young people from both countries in addressing social issues by applying digital skills and media literacy. I would like to ask Maria for a brief introduction of what will lay in front of us in the following period. So, Maria.
Yes, hello from my side. Officially, I'm the one that spammed you with so many mails and so many informations. But we would like to keep you updated always on the things that will happen in this virtual training program. As you all know, we will have 6 modules that are part of this virtual training program. After those 6 modules, you will have the opportunity to participate in Thessaloniki International Summer School, the one that already the previous speakers mentioned some details about. So the 6 modules that will be covered in this training program are critical thinking, disinformation, and accountability. This is actually this module on which Professor Roberto will lead this module and will provide you with his insights, practical information, and all the details about it. The second module, which will happen later on, will be development of digital campaigns for civic engagement. Then the next module will be media literacy against disinformation. Then we will have a special module for media literacy in practice that will be followed by transmedia storytelling. And the last module will be international news literacy and learning about the world. All modules will be online, and the details regarding the Zoom links and everything will be provided for you in advance. And you will have an insight about everything. The time schedule for all the modules will be sent to you after this module, so you will have a specific timeline, but we will end it until 14th of July, since from 15th of July, TISAM, the summer school, will start. Blink 40 to 21 and DCN Global will arrange all the technicalities, your logistics and everything about the travel. As previously mentioned, the most successful participants from this training program will have the opportunity to participate in these summer schools. In this summer school. In addition to the summer school, we will provide you with mentors that can support your work, your projects, your multimedia products that we will highly motivate you to develop as a result from this training. And we hopefully will see plenty of articles, podcasts, some video stories, or any kind of stories and multimedia products that you will develop as a motivation from this virtual training program. I must tell you that we will, together with DCN Global, we provided really good trainers for all the modules. We will have at least one expert from Macedonia and one expert from DCN Global. And they will jointly provide you with insights about the topics and also a lot of best practices and success stories. It will not be only one additional virtual training program on which you have enrolled, but it will be like with many examples, with many stories on which you can build on your experience later on and use it in your daily work. Whenever you have something additional to ask us, please feel free to write us an email and follow us on the social media, so you will have more information about our work and the work of our partners this year. Professor Nikos, do you have something additional to add, or we can provide the participants with 5 minutes break, and after that, Professor Roberto will start his own part of this training.
Yes, Maria have actually described very well what your expectations are. Before we move to a break, I would like actually to ask the participants if you have any questions about it, what it has been announced. Please, following these presentations, please have in mind, because you will be required to present an idea or a proposed topic or a proposed project based on the lectures that you will have to follow, okay? These projects will be presented on 14th of July, where we will have a special meeting. On 15th, it starts the summer school, but on 15th, we will have a special meeting regarding media literacy, and where you will have the chance based on the topics that you have heard. These projects can be something like, for example, how to tackle disinformation, new ways to approach, let's say, young people, or how young people use TikTok or Facebook or whatever. Okay. Are there any questions? Okay, then I think that we can have a break.
Can I ask a question about
yes,
the guidelines?
Yes.
The idea that we will propose regards the whole project, right? Not just every lecture, an idea on every lecture.
No,
a general idea in the end.
Exactly.
Okay.
Based on a topic that you will select from the lectures, because we have worked hard in order to have a diverse agenda, in order for you to have the opportunity to listen from the top experts, very innovative ideas. So it would be very beneficial for you to capitalize based on the.
I have one more question. Can you hear me? Will these contributions be published somewhere, or it will be just for the sake of selection and participation?
Yes, thank you. It will be published. Yes, it will be published in our websites, but also we will see if we can make a multimedia project with these ones. But the best ones that we will select, we will actually look forward even to publish an extensive note in a way. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. Okay, I think it's time for a break, and as I say, I will post here something that is. Is there any other question?
If not, we can have 5 minutes break. Take your coffee, tea, ice cream, or whatever you think it's most appropriate. And this time we will drink our coffee virtually, and in the Summer Academy we will drink it in person together. So see you in a bit, and with Professor Robert.
Thank you. I just posted the relevant picture. Okay, thank you. In the chat room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Roberto.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Roberto. We have a 5 minutes break. Okay.
Okay, fabulous.
You can see in the chat room I posted a meme regarding the fastest things on earth. So
Yes, it's amazing picture.
Hi, Milan. Nice to see you.
Hi, Roberto. Nice to see you again.
How are you doing?
Excellent. And you?
Not bad. Very tired.
Very
I live
tired.
time.
Just a little bit longer.
Yeah, I know. It's just, hi, Sorika. Very nice to see you too.
Hi, how are you?
Tired.
Tired, yes, tired.
Yeah, it's the girls are having one kid and another one coming, so too much.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. There's only someone more tired than I am, my wife.
in Balkans, we don't say something like that.
It's an European project. Come on.
I think that we
Stop
should have a project like
Maria.
this, and Roberto, you will be the speaker.
Recording, Maria.
You're killing me, Nikos. You're killing me.
Because he might introduce bad habits, that's why.
And bad habits are essential for surviving in the Balkans.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I think we have that in common with Spain.
Exactly. We share the same thing.
Right? I think it must be the Mediterranean.
Yes,
yeah, it's Mediterranean way of living.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you remember the film The Godfather, you remember when he went to Italy and he met his wife, Al Pacino met his wife, parents. Have you seen the movie, or I'm the oldest one here?
Does it meet the parents or?
He met the parents and he was walking together with his future to be wife, and the whole family was walking behind him, behind them. So this is kind of Italian.
So it's 10 minutes after 3. I think that the 5 minutes break passed. So are we all here?
We all.
Yes. So Professor Roberto, please feel free. This is
Roberto, give us 2 minutes. We will start in 2 minutes.
okay.
Yes, just everyone to come back. Everyone, if you are, please turn on your cameras. We have the first speaker today with us. Maria, do you want to introduce Roberto?
Yes, so from Blink 4221 and DCN, we would like to welcome Professor Roberto. It's our pleasure having him today. So please, Professor Roberto, the floor is yours. We would like to thank you for your participation today and looking forward for your insights on this really important topic and on the first module.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I think you need to do something to the system to allow me to share my screen. So if you could do that, I'll just start with the presentation.
Yes, I think that now you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Okay, let me just see. Sorry, it has to move forward. Let's try now. Yeah, that's it. Okay, I think I'm going to do the desktop so it's easier and I don't have to remember to change windows. Okay, let's see. Can you see the presentation now?
Yes.
Okay, let me just make this smaller so yeah, we can put it here. Okay, well, welcome everybody, and thank you for the invitation. Just as a quick intro and the links if you want to connect afterwards. You have my LinkedIn and my Twitter at the end of this slide, and also my email. I'm a professor here Accountability. I'm originally, and I combine this activity with teaching in the communication field at CEU São Paulo. I'm also a researcher here. I've been part of two big research projects to investigate disinformation in Spain. The first one in 2019 that was funded by Facebook and the Spanish Foundation Luca de Tena, which is here to ensure that the foundational goals of journalism are ensured. And another one that I'll talk about briefly at the end of the presentation, if we have time, that's still that's currently running. It's one of the observatories financed by the European Commission as from 2021. But before I get into my projects, I would like to, when I was commissioned to talk about critical thinking and disinformation, accountability, and how all this is important for for societies today and for the future. One of the main problems that we spotted when we started, my team and I, when we started to work on disinformation was the definition of the concept was a bit obscure because too many concepts were poured into the big bucket of fake news. And we also detected that there were certain people who were particularly interested in pouring everything at will in this bucket of fake news. So the first effort that we thought the academia needed to accomplish was to find the critical definition of the concept and also the different categories. Because the problem is that if we call everything fake news, we may fall in the trap of accepting the discourse of those who want to call fake news simply to those contents that they don't like. And we have had numerous examples of this in the political sphere and in other spheres where some arguments have been dismissed under the label of fake news, which is very catchy. It's very short, it's easy to understand, and it's easy to use in a polarized environment as the one that we're living on today. So coming back to how the clarification of disinformation can be made. The first preference is obviously, it has to be the one proposed by First Draft, which is an association, an NGO that you may know because it's been quite relevant and significant in the last, almost 10 years, a little bit less, but in the last 6 years, they have produced a lot of handbooks and theoretical and applied material to understand the process of disinformation, its functioning and its effects better. The news came last week. I believe that First Draft has put an end to its original mission, so they just started a new enterprise, but its contribution to the understanding of the phenomenon of disinformation is vital. And the first clarification that they made was back in, I think it was 2016, only UNESCO adopted this terminology a bit later in their handbook to understand information disorders. And they said, there's two factors that need to be taken into consideration when calling a story fake news. The first one is whether it's false or not. And the second one is whether its intention is to cause harm on someone, or it doesn't have any intention to cause harm on anybody. So these two characteristics gave way to three possible combinations. Material contents that were false but did not intend to harm, which is what we have, what we journalists have done all our life. We sometimes publish things and those things are false, but we don't know that they're false. So they're just mistakes. First Draft called this misinformation. So it's information that's false, but it doesn't intend to harm. It doesn't have a hidden agenda. Then there might be information that's partly true. So it's based, it's sustained by some true facts, but the goal of its publication is not to make a more knowledgeable audience, a more knowledgeable society. We come back to the beginnings of freedom of expression. The reason why gentlemen, people on the lines of John Milton, John Stuart Mill, the reason why they defend John Locke, the reason why they defended freedom of expression was because we needed to be informed, because being informed was a way to make more knowledgeable societies, and this was a significant contribution to progress. So there might be stories that are true facts, but rather to cause harm on an individual or an organization or on other entity. And these cases in which there might be a partial truth that's published, but its main intention is not to create better informed people, but to harm certain entity, is what First Draft calls malinformation. And then there's the case that you may have probably heard more of, the combination of both factors, the falsehood and the intention to harm. When those two aspects collide and they are presented together, this is what First Draft calls disinformation. So disinformation can be contents that are false and that are also created with an intention to harm somebody. This was so useful and so successful in orienting the debate towards disinformation, understanding the debate and the phenomenon, that soon after its publication, First Draft's life in its study of disinformation has been relatively short, but it's been quite intense. They have produced a lot of material, and in this respect, I would like to redirect you to First Draft's news website, because most of their material, and I'm saying most because I'm not entirely sure it's everything, but it's pretty much everything, is posted for free, and they're really interesting handbooks, more detailed than anything that I can tell you today. So if you're interested, if you're curious on their contributions to this discussion on critical thinking and disinformation, you may find very useful resources in that website. So following the success of this first classification of disinformation disorders into the three categories of misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation, they presented a new categorization soon after, from less to more dangerous for society types of disinformation. Some of them including the previous ideas of the intention to harm or not, or the falsehood or not. These types of mis and disinformation were the satire or parody, false connection, misleading content, false context, imposted content, manipulated content, and fabricated content. So a brief explanation that you can see in their graph will be followed by some examples that I've been retrieving this year that are interesting for different reasons for me, and some of them are from the Anglo-Saxon environment, but some others are coming from the Spanish environment, because one of the reasons why we're investigating disinformation here in Spain is to try and find if there are common patterns, if disinformation is similar everywhere, or if there are specific patterns in different areas. And I think the contribution that we can do from Spain may be valuable. So the satire or parody is definitely a type of information disorder, because what they produce is false content, but there's no intention to cause harm. There might be people who are fooled by this satire, but satire is a content that has been going on for I was going to say centuries, but rather millennia in Western history. Then there might be misleading content, which is use of a type of information that's true, but framed in a way that can lead the viewers to think something that it's really not. Related to this, there might be also cases of what First Draft calls false connection. So also with some connection to truth, the headline is presented with the fact that's inspired in something that happened in reality, but then there's some connection, there's some link that is either hinted or stated that's not so obvious. So maybe the premise is correct, but the consequence is not, or the other way around. The consequence that's presented in the headline is true, but without the premise can't be understood. If we grow in the scale of dangerous information disorders, something that's more delicate because it's more difficult to spot, and it can be deceitful is a false context. And the false context is something content that's real, that hasn't been manipulated. So the content is still how the way the context is changed. So it might mean something different than if it's presented in the right context. Then we have the imposter content, and that's when some content is deceitful because it appears to be said by someone who hasn't really said that thing. Here we entered the realm of more or less manipulated content. Imposter content is in itself a sort of manipulated content, only we don't manipulate the text or the video or the audio, we manipulate the source, we change the source. In the manipulated content, there is some sort of original content that we change or modify to pursue certain goals. And this is something that you probably have some examples in mind, and we'll see something that some examples that you may have heard of, and if you haven't, I think it's going to be interesting. And then we have the fabricated content. What's the difference between the manipulated content and the fabricated content? So the manipulated content is rooted on something that existed, and that something that existed is changed, distorted, or altered somehow. The fabricated content is something that never existed. It's a content that's absolutely created purposely to deceive and to cause harm. And you may have heard of some of these contents that's being fabricated. And in the last years, and with the last years, I mean the last 3-4 years, have been perfected to an extent that it's very difficult to detect that it's actually content that's not real, content that never existed, that's been fabricated by someone. So rather than, I mean, we'll see some examples of fabricated content, but I've just selected a 10-minute video for the fabricated content to see the history of how this has been perfected, the phenomenon has been perfecting itself, and where we're at in terms of the fabricated content, which would be the most dangerous type of information disorder, because it's false, it intends to harm, and it's also designed in a way that's very difficult to spot, even for specialists. So very quickly, or as quickly as we can.
Roberto, I'm sorry for the interruption, but there is a discussion, a question from Christian in the chat group.
Yeah.
And and either we can you can take the questions at the end, or you can actually respond now. It is up to you. Okay.
Not a problem. I mean, part of the policies that we're defending to combat fake news, to combat information disorders, were introduced at the end of the presentation. But I don't mind talking about it because I prefer more conversational style. And also, if you want to ask questions or make comments, just hold your hand or just enter with your microphone. You can do that too. So Christian says the ways to combat fake news. I think it's a really interesting question because fact checkers are a reactive measure. So when we have something that's false and we use people to spot those fake news, that's a very valuable work, but at the same time, it has the risk of backfiring because sometimes some certain stories haven't become viral, so it's they're not really that popular, and just by fact checking them, we make them more viral. I'm more on the side of preventing, of making a more critical citizenship than reacting to what the fake news what the fake news are once they're published. So the tool that I'm more interested on answering your question is definitely media literacy. Media literacy is sustained on the premise that there has to be certain tokens of criticism when you confront certain material. we should be used from a very early age. I mean, we are by content, so we need to educate our children to know how to conduct themselves in that environment. So we need to check in whether the information that they are reading or the content, sometimes, most of the time, is not information, it's entertainment. If those contents are endorsing their previous views, and maybe that's lowering their defenses, to be aware of that and that confirmation bias to become more critical. And also, of course, to know basic tools like Google Reader's images to do quick fact checking. All those policies that should be, in my opinion, and there's many authors that have joined this ship lately. I mean, I was definitely not the first one. I joined the ship when there was a lot of people in that ship, and I've noticed that there's a lot of people who are increasingly convinced that that's important to introduce this media literacy at an early stage. It's also true that it's important, or it's very valuable to spot sectors of the population that are potentially more vulnerable to disinformation, and make actions towards those people with workshops or with webinars or different type of actions to make them develop this critical thinking. But I would even go further, and I would say we live in a time that's privileged in many senses. We have access to enormous amounts of information, and we need to give the kids tools to know how to face that, and to know how to make the most of the possibilities that are endless of this information world, without suffering the downfalls. So yes, fact checking it's important, but I agree that to me it's not even the most important thing. Knowing the for instance, what we're doing today, knowing the different phases that information disorders can present, may put people in alert to know if some information, some content that they are consuming belong to one of these categories, or if they're missing something, or if they didn't ask themselves something that's relevant to assign credibility or not to the story that they're faced with. Thanks for the question. I hope that I more or less answered. So in the types of disinformation of this more detailed category that we were mentioning before, the most harmless one would be satire. I don't know if you've seen this this content. It was a video piece that has this headline that says, "Joe Biden has been president for 9 hours and 400,000 Americans are dead." So I have a question for you. When you see this, I mean, you already know that this is a satire. So this is not an information piece. This is disinformative. But a quick way of knowing this is one of the first questions that we should ask ourselves when we look at content online or elsewhere is, who is the source? So who is the source of this? Joe Biden has been president for 9 hours and 400,000 Americans are dead. You can, if you don't want to use your voice, you can just write it down in the chat bar. Anybody? Fox News? And Sandra, why do you think it's Fox News? I mean, where can you see it?
Because it's written on this at the TV, Fox News Live. For that reason, I know that this is the media that is making this this kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you see Fox News Live here, so you say, well, it's Fox News, and it talks about Joe Biden in a very pejorative way. It makes sense because Fox News is believed to be conservative. So yes. And what if I tell you that Fox News is not the source of this message? Where else can you find? Snopes is the source, yes. Snopes is the source of the verification. But even within the frame, Satire said, I can see Fox News Live. That's not Fox News, and it's not Snopes. The show, yes, Katerina said the show, The Daily Show with, yeah, do you know the show?
No,
Katerina?
I don't know.
The Daily Show, it's an entertainment show by a comedian called Trevor Noah. So they have different contents, but one of them are clips with parodies. So in this case, they just try and think, what would Fox News say about Joe Biden? What can be the most exaggerated headline that they would reasonably publish on the recent presidency of Joe Biden? And they come up with this. This is something that's not being said by Fox News. So it might be deceptive. There might be some people who think, well, yes, I mean, Joe Biden has been terrible for the states because Fox News said it. However, there are clues for people to be reminded that this is a parody, and this small text in the top right part saying The Daily Show with Trevor Noah reminds us that it doesn't openly intend to harm. So it is a satire, it's comedy, and it recognizes themselves as such. Without that reminder of the piece belonging to another show that is not broadcast by Fox News, could be a more manipulated, fabricated type of content. But because it's a satire, because it's parody, well, it's not believed to be so potentially harmful, so dangerous. Okay. There are other types of not so dangerous content, but in the case of First Draft, they are a little bit more dangerous. This is a cue. I don't remember if it's well. That's a lack of verification on my side. If it was Sweden or Denmark, but this was at the very beginning of the pandemic. When you remember, there were different countries that went into confinement, and there were very strict measures. I don't know if Macedonia was the same. I imagine there were similar measures taken, but one of the most popular ones was social distancing. And you may remember in your own country, because I mean, this is taken from an origin country, as I said, but I remember exactly the same story in a nationwide newspaper in Spain, criticizing society for not being able to respect the measures that had been suggested or imposed by the government to keep the 1.5 meter social distance to avoid further infection, further contagion. If you see the left picture, that is what it seems to be. It seems to be a crowded queue where people doesn't respect the distance. But if you just change the point of view and you take a picture of the exact same moment with a different type of lens, because in the first one, in the first picture, in the picture on the left, you're using a photo lens, which, if you are familiar with photography, tends to produce that effect of putting things together. If you change the lens and you change the point of view, you can convey what is actually a more accurate representation of what's happening there. So there's nothing that's strictly speaking manipulated, because it's a picture that's been taken from a point of view and with a specific lens. But this is a good reminder of how the point of view itself can be misleading, and the point of view cannot tell the story as accurately as it should be. This in itself could be problematic, and especially in such sensitive topics as everything that surrounded the pandemic and social behavior derived from the measures implemented, can have a very prejudicial effect. I'm going to show you an example of something that I retrieved from Spain. It's an international story. I don't know how good your Spanish is, but don't worry, I'll translate. It says NASA sets a date for the destruction of Earth. So if I'm not wrong, it's June 22nd. We're all here. The Earth hasn't been destroyed, or not that we know, even though there's been a lot of efforts everywhere to do it. But this is a very alarming headline, and it is not false. It's not totally untrue. However, you have to get to the last paragraph of the publication to see that there is a premise that's connected to the conclusion that's set in the headline without the premise. And the premise is, in the very unlikely event of a meteor hitting the Earth, of a specific meteor hitting the Earth will be destroyed this day. But they also say the likelihood, and it's 1 into millions of possibilities that meteorite hits the Earth. And you see a lot of information that's presented this way, even in what's supposedly reliable sources. La Razón, for instance, in Spain, is one of the nationwide newspapers, and it's one of the allegedly more reputed newspapers in Spain. And you see headlines like this that take you to a story, and when you read the story doesn't say exactly that, or there was a point that was missing and that was crucial to understand the story. Why do you think this happens, by the way? I mean, why would someone, this is taken from Twitter, from the Twitter account of this newspaper, but why do you think they would use a headline knowing that the headline is not entirely correct without the premise, and not put in the premise? Why do you think they do that? That's an Ivan says views publicity, and it's interesting, and knowing the business model of the media today, and even the non-professional media, their base is precisely on clicks and revenue and publicity. In the past, traditional media were paid by advertising as well, but the advertising was located within the content, and it was inescapable for the readers or for the viewers. But right now, the contents need to be reached at, and in order to do that, you use stories that have very flashy, sensational headlines that take you to maybe not so interesting stories. But once you get there, you have the clicks that will garner the media the money from the advertising revenue that they want. This is, you may have heard of the phenomenon. This is known as clickbait. And clickbait is only justified or only explained with the production model the media and other creators of content have today. So this is what I meant with media literacy being so important for kids as well. Kids get to the contents way before they know how the contents work. If you haven't seen a documentary that's been very popular, it's in Netflix. It's called The Social Dilemma. In The Social Dilemma, several people who have been involved in the production of contents. I'm Christian, I'm coming back to you. Just the note about The Social Dilemma is people working for social media, explaining what social media does to keep your attention, and what social media does to monetize your attention, to make money in the long run. The kids, and not so much kids, know how the media makes money and how the social media makes money, can be a good way to foster critical thinking, to alert people of where the flaw may be, where the trick may be. And if you know the media works on the click, especially in online environments, they work on the clickbaiting philosophy, then when you read this story, you can be mistrustful and you say, oops, there might be more to it than that. And I may decide to get, or simply just dismiss it because it's probably a clickbait attempt. So Christine says, I have read that there has been a campaign by the government to posted an article with fake information on random news website and major news companies, copied the article without verifying it. The article became viral. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and there's also an ethical aspect of all that. So how much can you push to make the population realize of how much this is a problem for everybody, because that's one of the things. And when we talk about disinformation, we tend to think, and this is, I think, what is a very defensive mechanism, a survival mechanism, I would say, that we all have, and that is to think that, yes, I mean, only fools fall into disinformation. Only certain people will fall for this story, the destruction of the earth. When in reality, I think very few of us can say that we haven't been affected by disinformation one way or another. So the experiment is really interesting. So if you could share it with me, I would. I mean, I don't know if there's an English version, but I would love to read more about that, because we're always on the look of potential actions to increase and to foster media literacy. But yes, I think that was insightful to make people realize how much they were in danger of believing false stories. So we keep going up in the scale, and this is an example of false context. And it was again, it's a Spanish fact checker, but working on an international news story. This was about the assault at the Capitol, which is quite up to date lately. But it was a huge media event, so there was a great thirst towards, thirst of knowing more and more about what was going on those days. And there were also side stories that started to come up after the great event happened. And one of these stories, Areti, I'm coming back to you in a minute, as soon as I finish with false context. One of these stories was the side stories. You may have heard it. In some circles, it was claimed that it was extreme left-wing activists that assaulted the Capitol, or at least there were also extreme left-wing activists in amongst the crowd that assaulted the Capitol. And this was a story that became viral as well in social media. And they said, well, look, we have the clue to support this story. These two guys appear in a website that's known for its extreme left-wing content. So it's a website for extreme left-wing sympathizers. So if these guys appear in this website, that proves that the assault at the Capitol was also composed by, or there were also extreme left-wing people in the assault of the Capitol. What they missed, we don't know if it was purposefully or not, what they failed to recall was that these two guys appeared in the extreme left-wing website only in a post where they were pointing at them as extreme right-wing activists. So, like I say, there was a post of them saying, these guys are the enemy, and their picture appears there. And this is the context that was missing. And with that missing context, the story didn't mean what it would have meant originally. Not only that, it meant the opposite. And it was used to meet some particular agenda, but by certain groups. So given a false context, or deleting the context, or changing the context, can be also a source of disinformation. Areti, I promised to come back to you, and here I am. I have a general question: should fact checkers and thus media literacy include specialization in different topics? For example, scientific issues, politics. That's a very good question, because I would say I have a very revolutionary theory that fact checkers in reality, they are what we used to call journalists, right? Because there was a time when information, and then this met with an overflow of information that made a lot of editors in newsrooms be absolutely snowed under work, and this led to a type of content that was produced without having been verified. And in the absence of the previous fact-checking role of these journalists, fact checkers emerged somehow. The point here and the thing here is the same as journalists were specialized in different areas. If we assume the fact checkers have taken up this role now, yes, I mean, it's difficult to debunk certain stories without having some sort of specialization on those stories. The problem here is also if you take this to media literacy. One of the main problems that I think people have with media literacy, I don't think people repost stories that they know or they feel they may be false because they're evil. I mean, I don't think most people do that. I think they do it because it's entertaining or because they're too tired to double check, and it's easier just to repost or to even believe it and repost it in a live conversation. And the problem comes here that you can't be a specialist on everything, and we can't demand viewers, we can't demand the consumers of information to be specialists on everything. We need to rely on the producers of information to be as reliable as possible, and we may want to come up with a system that that credits those sources that are consistently more verifiable and more trustworthy than others. But in the long run, I think since we can't citizens can't become specialists on everything, the key is to develop the critical thinking or the tools to when do I have to distrust something, or what are the red flags that I may see, because sometimes it's not so much about the content. Sometimes it's about just seeing the red flags, and the red flags are about the source, about the potential intention that you feel that source may have, about the pictures or not, if they seem altered or they don't seem altered, if the pictures compute with the story that's been told, and a number of other measures that can be trained. Those measures are more generic, and they're related to the skill of critical thinking in itself, not so much in the topics that can be seen in the content. So my answer to your question would be, at the level of fact checkers, I definitely think specialization is required, the same as in the past. Specialization was an asset for journalists informing on different topics. As for media literacy, well, obviously there can be like targeted actions, media literacy towards certain particular groups, like I don't know, media literacy actions or workshops on health disinformation that's targeted policymakers on the field of health. Those things can exist. In the wide range of media literacy campaigns that I was envisioning before, I would say the goal and the focus should be more, in my view, on giving tools to develop critical thinking, and that is not always going hand in hand with the specialization on content. So knowing what to mistrust and why to mistrust it, and how to get out of the loop to not just get simply despair. Okay, so this is an example of manipulated content. I don't know if, does anybody know this story, by the way? Do you recognize the lady here? I think she was very popular during Donald Trump presidency, but I'm not so sure that she is lately. Okay, I'll take it from the from the silence that she's not that well known. I mean, she was an extremely popular figure, especially outside of the US, but her name is Nancy Pelosi, and that the name may ring a bell. And there was a story that became viral as well in social media. That was a perfect example of manipulated content. Let's do the video, discuss why this is manipulated content and what is the purpose of something like this. Let me just find the video. Yeah, here. Can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. Let's go for it.
We thought we had some level of agreement, but you never know with this president of the United States. So that's what happened this morning. It was very, very, very strange. And we thought we had some level of agreement, but you never know with this president of the United States. So that's what happened this morning. It was very, very, very strange.
So it was at the beginning of the video, but I don't know if everyone saw what was attempted to do here. So what is the manipulation? Did you get it?
Slower voice. Did they slow down the speed?
They did slow down the speed to make her sound or to make her look what?
Ill or drunk, I think.
She looks like drunk.
Absolutely, yeah. So she sounded a bit, I don't know. She was probably under. Well, if I just see the second video, the first reaction is, well, she's probably under the influence. She's probably under some sort of substance, right? And then you need to think, I mean, who is this woman? She makes a very quick mention to Donald Trump. She was one of his most fierce critics, and because of that, some people wanted to damage her reputation, to discredit her. So presenting her as a drunk was a good way to achieve this political agenda. And it was really easy. It was just slowing the pace. I don't know if you use WhatsApp or some of these social media. They do. I think even Netflix and these platforms allow you to do it as well. And it's just crazy to me. I may be getting too old, but you can watch episodes and you can also listen to messages in WhatsApp at 1.5 speed, which makes people speak very fast, which is also comical. But if you do it the other way around, which is technically extremely easy, you can make people sound slow, to say the least. So the content existed in principle. So there was an interview and Nancy Pelosi said those words, only they manipulated how she said them. How can you battle this? Obviously, if you don't like Nancy Pelosi, for starters, one good way is to be aware of how you frame stories portraying her, depicting her. If you recognize in yourself a bias or a possible tendency to discredit her, then you may be more critical to accept, this is too strange. I mean, why would she speak like that? And maybe you can discredit this because you think, yeah, this has to be altered. This has to be manipulated somehow. Why does First Draft place this type of information disorder so high in the rank of potential danger? Because it's very difficult to spot. It's very difficult and it's very costly as well, because it takes someone to go to alternative sources until they find the original material. And then they may double check that someone has altered the material that probably impacted them the first time in social networks. And they see the real interview and they say, yeah, this is a manipulated content. So because it's so difficult, and usually people don't have the time to get that far, it's more potentially more dangerous, right? The last type Sorry, there's a type of between that I missed. The next type of potentially dangerous content first graph is the input content. And here I say they play quite hard of proliferation, especially in social networks like Twitter, of fake accounts. And some of those fake accounts openly say that. It'll be also interesting to know why those accounts that openly say that in their bio, that clarification is not stated in the messages themselves. So if you see this tweet on the left, hey Imran, let me please know if I can call you in a while. Let me please know if you are free and not in a meeting. It seems like it's Donald Trump talking to Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan. But you only know that he is not really Donald Trump because it's not real Donald Trump, it's real Donald Trust. There might be savvy users that would go directly to the name of the account to find that this is not the right account, and also they know what the real account of Donald Trump is. But it would be much easier if Twitter, and that might be an idea for Elon Musk, if Twitter clarifies it further, because sometimes imposter content is made by people who want to impersonate others and to cause damage. And all the times it's just a type of parody, which would take us to the first type of information disorders that we discussed, that we said it's not as harmful, not as potentially harmful. Okay, so so this would be what imposter contents are. Messages that are actually said by someone, only the source is disguised under a fake name or pretending to be someone that they're really not, which connects quite clearly to the last type of the last type of content, like a fabricated content. That's content that never existed, content that's been digitally created by someone to, well, different purposes really. This is known, and you may have heard the term. This is known as deep fakes, and the deep fakes have improved their technologies to an extent that it's extremely difficult to recognize them. However, one clarification that I would like to make here is that we tend to assume that deepfakes are fabricated content. So deepfakes are the top rank of information disorders, because in the beginning it was pretty much like that, and there's a number of examples, quite a lot, in recent days that are still using deepfakes for dangerous purposes, and we have examples of this in the recent invasion of Ukraine, with the propaganda wars that's being fabricating content with different spurious goals, like undermining the morale of the enemy, or simply depicting certain characters in a light that was not true. However, deepfakes have been also used in advertising, for instance, and clearly stating somehow, I mean, maybe implicitly stating, sometimes explicitly stating that content was not true, that content was not real. There was an example here in Spain, for instance, which was not I mean, there was two in advertising. One of them was deepfake of a sound deepfake, using the voice of a very famous painter that you may know, Salvador Dalí, surrealist painter, very famous in Spain. He passed away in the 1980s. So obviously he hadn't said what he said in the advert. The advert was for an institution, an NGO, that was trying to raise awareness towards Parkinson. And Dalí was just telling the story of how it was important to fight the disease that he died for. There was another example of a deep fake in advertising. It was a beer ad they use the face of someone, a singer, and dancer, Spanish singer and dancer, very, very popular in the up to the 1980s. That was dead. And it was all to make people believe that she was alive, that she recorded that, but it was just a wink to the users of that product. But sometimes deepfakes, fabricated content, may have a more dangerous goal. And this is what's said by this is what is explained in this video published in the Wall Street Journal YouTube channel, where it explains where do we come from in terms of deepfakes and where are we getting at. I mean, the video is actually not that recent. It's from 2018, so the things are only more present than they sounded 4 years ago.
We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time.
Seeing is not believing anymore. President Barack Obama never said these lines. You're hearing actor and comedian Jordan Peele's voice imitating Obama, lip-synced to an existing video clip. It's a so-called deep fake.
You can literally put into a person's mouth, anything you want.
Someone apparently wanted to see Nicolas Cage starring in roles he never played, as Indiana Jones and as James Bond. This is me deep-faked as Donald Trump. Recently, the technology has gotten more accessible.
So does your mom know what you're doing in your spare time?
Of course not. No. I wouldn't want to tell anybody that I do this or I make mistakes.
This is the deepfake video of me. That's not my body. That's not me.
And some of the people developing the deepfake dark arts come from prestigious places.
Isn't it people in academia who are advancing this technology?
Well, we are seeing the technology being misused. We know that there's a dark side to it.
You put all that together, and what you have is not a threat to our elections, but a threat to our republic.
Everyone loves spreadsheets. Actually, they don't. But check this out.
Sorry.
GameWonder.com. Get started. Import.
We're at UC Berkeley here to see Hani Farid, one of the foremost experts in the world when it comes to computer forensics.
Farid has spent the past 20 years of his career identifying doctored images. Now he's trying to find ways to detect deepfakes.
If you can change visual images, you can change history. And there's something very powerful still about seeing something in terms of changing people's beliefs.
Changing photos and history used to be tedious and technical. In this photo, Stalin had a secret police official removed from photos when he fell out of favor. Hollywood has had the wherewithal for decades to produce computer-generated fakes, like in the movie Forrest Gump, Tom Hanks meeting with John F. Kennedy.
I believe he said he had to be.
Now, fast forward to where we are today in the last few years, we've seen a whole new generation of fake content. Neural networks, machine learning, artificial intelligence technologies being adapted to synthesize for you fake content. It's that we've democratized access to incredibly powerful software.
Almost anyone can do it.
Almost anybody can do it. And that's a game changer.
Some of these anybodies are into putting people fakely into compromising positions. This technology has been used to put the faces of celebrities like Emma Watson, Gal Gadot, and Angelina Jolie into female porn actors. We messaged a deepfake porn website. A man who said he set up the site agreed to talk to us via Skype, but only if we disguised his voice. We could not independently verify his identity.
How come you don't want to show your face to us?
There's a negative stigma with deepfakes.
Why are you into deepfakes to begin with?
To the community, I'm actually taking requests of them and making them.
But you could imagine that there are people who could be deepfaked and are being deepfaked in a way that's really hurtful, right? When you're doing this, is there any part of you that puts yourself in the mind who finds she's
only celebrities that are getting deepfaked this way. Noel Martin was an 18-year-old student in Sydney, Australia, when she first became a victim of what she calls morph porn.
This is the deepfake video of me performing oral sex on a man. That's not me. I don't know who the man is. I don't even want to look because I'm pretty sure there's probably some more. God, this is a new one. So that says to me that they are still targeting me.
Over the past 6 years, Martin has found dozens of doctored images and videos of herself. She has no idea who's responsible for them.
I mean, I just can't explain the level of violation and also shame that I felt, because in the beginning, I kind of blamed myself. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad.
Martin went to the police, but they said they couldn't help her at that moment. At the time, there was no law making doctored visuals a criminal offense. And for a long time, she felt so ashamed that she didn't even share what had happened with her parents.
I think it was something that was difficult to actually talk to you guys about.
If there's an assault or something, we don't know how to deal with it. You don't know who the hell is the perpetrator. I felt helpless. It frightens me. It frightens me. I know the law. I practice the law here, and I still don't know what the hell to do.
In the meantime, the fakes are getting ever more sophisticated.
So there's a lot happening very, very quickly right now.
Fareed shows us the cutting-edge research that's been publicly discussed in the field. The newest iterations of fake videos are not only headshots that are being manipulated, but actually full-body manipulation. And one of these fake videos includes me. I'm not a very good dancer. Let's just say I'm no Bruno Mars. Well, actually, I can be. Detector Pose software scans Mars movements and then renders my video to make my limb movements match his. The dance video was synthesized by 3 Berkeley students and overseen by a computer science professor.
So what you do is you feed into the system a whole bunch of images of the person you want to retarget on the right. You have somebody who is the puppet master on the left, and it synthesizes whatever you want. And then I superimpose into that a voice synthesis of President Putin, President Trump, whomever it is. And now you've got some very powerful technology.
So who makes this next generation of deepfakes? Isn't it people in academia who are advancing this technology?
Look, I would not criticize my colleagues, but I would urge them to spend more time thinking about the consequences of developing this type of technology, because the fact is, it's not a hypothetical anymore. We are seeing this happening. We are seeing the technology being misused.
So do you think there's a plausible scenario under which deepfakes result in war?
Honestly, I don't think that's a stretch. So
nuclear war being launched?
I don't think it's likely, but I don't think it's out of the question. Imagine the following scenario. Video is produced of Donald Trump saying, I've just launched nuclear weapons against North Korea. That video goes onto Twitter and goes viral in 30, 60 seconds. North Korea responds in another 60 seconds before anybody figures out that the video is fake. How are we going to believe anything anymore that we see? And so to me, that's a real threat to our democracy.
Another threat are instances where there is only one recording.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Whatever you want. Grab by the...
¿Cómo captar propiedades de alto standing con las que generar un 5% de comisión como mínimo?
In the future, Fareed thinks that politicians like Donald Trump could just claim that a recording like this one is computer generated. Although the president first apologized for the words he used in this video, over a year later, news reports said that Donald Trump was now describing the recording as not authentic. So what can be done about computer-generated fakes? In Australia, Noel Martin decided to speak out.
Can I get a show of hands? Who here has ever Googled themselves?
Martin also contacted lawmakers and was able to help bring about a law that criminalizes non-consensual deepfakes.
I stood with the Attorney General of New South Wales at the press conference when he announced the laws. I think I just got so emotional because while I didn't get justice that I had been looking for, just him that I had experienced was very healing.
There's no law that criminalizes deepfakes in the United States. Could artificial intelligence help spotting computer videos? So you have to for you and
Yeah. So this is the blood flowing.
Some questions from the participants.
Perfect. So let me just go back to, okay, let's see how I can stop sharing my screen. Goodness me, useless it is, am I not? There we go. I stop sharing. So I think there was a message from Anna that said, we suggest to abstain from social media in order not to mess with fake news. Could it be a simple solution? It's definitely a simple solution. I don't know if it's effective and also if it's real. I mean, one of the courses I teach here in Spain is communication theory. And to prove the point that mass communication is inescapable, I ask my students, I mean, I don't ask them, I offer them to just give them an A with honors without even attending to the rest of the course, if they manage to not be hit by any mass media message in 24 hours. And well, I haven't given out any A with honors for that reason. It's difficult to escape the media world, and it's a very natural tendency to just hide from something that we're seeing is harmful and it's scary. And especially the more you dig in, the more scary it can look. But I don't think it's feasible, to be entirely honest. And also I think it's something that it's not entirely desirable, because we are losing a lot of huge opportunities that this digital world is offering to us. What I think it's like, at some point this has become war somehow, and we're going to war without weapons, and that's what's really dangerous. I mean, it's not even war. I mean, but it's like when we created our civilization, we were literally fighting for our survival every day. And we developed tools to manage our surroundings and to know how to not be eaten out by other animals, or to know how not to be invaded by other people. And we developed tools, and maybe we believe that because we live in a mostly peaceful environment, this is no longer the case, and it's not only still the case, but also it has a different shape. So we need to think, in my view, in those terms. It's what are the potential dangers in our immediate surroundings, and what are the best weapons to fight them. The weapons won't solve the problem. The weapons, you know, I'm sounding too aggressive here, but even the defensive weapons that we may use, we should take them as a way to lessen the effects, the damaging effects of all these potentially dangerous phenomena. If our obsession is just not to be hit by disinformation, I think that is a lost battle. We live in the world that we live in, and what we can do is just try and go out to that world better defended, and critical thinking in this. I mean, critical thinking has always been key to mankind's progress, but in this particular environment, where talking of critical thinking is being crucial for people not to be absolutely despaired with the contents that they consume. So
thank you. Thanks for your answer.
You're welcome, Anna. I would say it just giving people tools to understand how this world works. That is what can be more useful than just disconnect them. And there's a number of people who are opting for just logging off, and they just deleted their social media accounts, I have a good friend of mine who passed away last Saturday, whom I signed an article with recently, and he was saying he was an advocate for technology in the 80s and in the 90s, and he says people are becoming slaves of technology, and I'm not surprised that people log off continuously. And we have our conversations in this, and I always defend it. I don't think logging off is a solution. I think the solution is to give people the tools so they understand how this works. And once they know how they work, they can just try and act accordingly. So just limit the amount of time that you're in, or the sources that you consume, or that is more feasible. That's something that we could do, definitely.
Could I say something, please?
Yes, of course.
I actually do not use social media.
Okay.
And I feel free. I'm okay. I'm a peaceful person. That's all right with me. Thank you.
I'm on your boat somehow, because I don't have an Instagram account. I only use Twitter and LinkedIn. And
okay, we're two now. We're two now.
Okay.
Thanks.
We are, yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm an alien when I'm talking to my students. You know, they're 18, 20-year-olds, and they all have things that I can't even spell, platforms that I can't even spell. So I feel like, you know, I'm the old man there, but I'm proud to be. What I mean is that, you know, I know that there's people who really need social media for different purposes. I work with a lot of script writers. I mean, I don't work in script writing, but I work with them for other academic purposes. And you know, I don't think you can tell them to stop watching films. So, and if films are a source of distraction to them, maybe they need to know how to dosify them. And the same goes for social media. There's people who really, and these script writers, some of them have found jobs in Twitter. So how am I going to tell them not to use Twitter when maybe their livelihood depends on that? But I think what you said is really wise. I mean, I'm using what I'm comfortable with using. And if you know exactly how the algorithms work and what kind of content you're more likely to be offered, and you consume that content knowing that, I think you're much more protected to use the social networks to your benefit and not the other way around.
Are there any other questions? We would like to thank Roberto for spending and actually opening the first part of this series of discussions and actually training. It was a very interesting and very thorough analysis, as always. Roberto, thank you very much for taking time to be with us.
Thank you, Nikos. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, everyone. Just before I pass the floor to Maria, the next meeting will be on this Friday. Maria?
Yes, thank you, Roberto. Also, once again, from our side, the next meeting will be on Friday. You will receive an email with the specific time. I will tell you now and post it in the chat, the specific time. So the next module will be development of digital campaigns for civic engagement. This is this Friday, and we will start from 2 p.m. Skopje time or 1 p.m. Athens time. You will receive an invitation and also an invitation to put in your calendars. So I'm just writing it here in the chat, and also once again I will send you through email. Thank you once again for being here with us today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a great day.